Hi, this is Cousin Russ. I'm going to, I just did a blog post on an undocumented fact uh, file that I have where I lost all of my citations. And in the blog post, I talked about how I was treating and reviewing each profile as I went along. And what I'm going to do now is demonstrate what I am actually doing, because I found a couple of cases that will tell you the whole story. So I have this undocumented fact file that I'm working on to bring it up to my standards. Now, I have pretty high standards on how I handle information in my file, and that's my choice. So what I am doing is reviewing each profile that's in my database. And one of the things that I'm looking for as I review is to make sure that birth dates, marriage dates, and death dates are something more than just the year. If I have the full date, that's awesome. I may have the month and the year, that's awesome. But if I just have the year for these three facts, I will add the word about. That's a visual reminder for me that I don't have the full birth date. So if I see the about, that in my mind says plus or minus 18 months or 2 years, whatever. But I use the word about. I do not want a year only in birth, marriage, and death dates. So that's one of the things that I'm looking at as I review the profiles. And so when I have done that, I can go back and review using a saved report for each of those facts. And I will look at them to make sure that I captured them all, because I may have missed one as I reviewed the profile, but there is a saved report. I have 3 saved reports that will help me review each of those 3 facts. And I do that from time to time. I've been doing it while I've been doing this cleanup, so it's not at the end look at 50 pages of information. So I'm going to show you that report. And then I will then put a citation on an undocumented fact that I've created for this purpose, and I have a citation for it, and I will show you how I do that. So let me bring up Family Tree Maker, because I have an example. This is the People Workspace. I have a filter, and remember in Family Tree Maker 2019, the filter feature is active, it's dynamic, it changes. And what I have done in the filter is include all persons. Then I filter out anyone who has a fact called no documentation. So I'm including everybody. I am getting rid of or filtering out everybody who I already have the no documentation fact. And then I have excluded a couple people who I have documented. And it tells me that I have 207 people that I have yet to clean up. Now I'm going to apply that filter, and there are the 207 people where I do not have where I don't have the correct citation. And I see that I have went by the person I wanted to work on. Oh, here's a good example. So I'm going to pick this third person. I'm going to the person workspace. Now I have some facts. In this case, I have several death dates and a birth date that just has the year. So I am going to click in the birth date fact and add the word about. Now, in looking at this one, I need to resolve the place name. I'm not going to do that one now. I'm not going to do this one now because that's a different process. Now, this is just the year, and it says about 1734. Well, we have it to about 1734, but this one doesn't have a place. So I am in fact going to delete that fact. I right-clicked on that fact because there's less information and I really don't need to have it. And down here I have another one that's about 1779 for the death date, and all it has is the date. I'm going to delete that one as well. And I'm going to add the word about for the death date. And because the death place is two different places, I'm not going to delete either one of them because I don't have the records, but I will be looking for a record to resolve that. So that's really conflicting information. And what I'm going to do, because I found it, I'm going to make a to-do list. Death place, and I have a category called conflicting information. If I get my mouse to cooperate here, conflicting information, oops. So I have in the task list for this person, I have conflicting information. I could do the same thing for birth, but I'm not going to go through everything because I'm just concentrating on the birth, marriage, and death facts. Now I'm going to make sure that the marriage, I got the same problem down here. I have a marriage that's about, but this one I'm going to keep because this one says about 1758. The other one says about 1759. I actually have the date here, but I don't have the record on this date for the place. This one has the place and an about. So I can do another, I'm going to put a marriage date, because that's conflicting. Is it 1758, 1759? So that when I find a record, then I can resolve the place name. Now, what I'm going to do here, I'm going to show you a report in a minute, but what I'm going to do is add the fact called no documentation, and I'm going to paste in the no documentation description. That's the fact that I'm tracking on, and I have a citation for that fact. It's personal knowledge needs documentation. So this fact is in fact documented. But at the same time, if I were to go back to my filter, I will apply the filter and that person is no longer on the list to have that citation put on. So now, I have a saved report. Now reports are in the published workspace. I have a collection in saved reports called year birth. I'm going to generate that report, and as is generating, I'm going to go to individuals to include. I have a filter that's set up here for no filter in where no documentation exists. That means that all of the profiles that I have reviewed and put the no documentation fact, it's going to include that. But if the birth date is blank, I'm going to filter that out. I don't want to look at blank birth dates. If the birth date does not exist, I want to filter it out as well. So there are 515 people who I have the birth date only. I don't care about the place. All I care about is the date. So what this report now is I'm just going to scroll down through this list. It's 24 pages, but I can scroll down pretty quickly to see if I have any place in here that is just the year. Now I've looked at the top of this list a lot recently, so I'm scrolling down and see if I see in this column any years alone, just the year, the 4-digit year for that, for the birth fact. So I don't see any. Now, if I saw one, I can edit it by clicking on a name, and I can add the about for the fact. So that is the birth date, birth fact. I do the same thing for the death date. I have the same filter here. It's a save report. There's more people that have been added. I have no documentation exists filtered in, and I filter out the death date is blank, or there isn't a death date, and I apply it. And again, I can review this pretty quickly, which I have done. And I am scrolling through the report, and I'm again just looking to see if there's any birth years without something in front of it. I want to see about is what if I have the full date, that's fine. All these are about, that's fine. I just don't want to see the year. Again, this is a saved report. Now I just updated the number of individuals, so I'm going to save it again, and it is the death date. So I'm going to replace this existing report, year only for me, death, and I want to save it. So the next time that I run this report, it will have the additional people. So that's what I have been doing. I'm doing it so that I know that I have everybody with a citation, a fact that says there's no documentation. I review the profiles to get rid of any minor details, and I haven't really deleted that many. I just, the example that I had, just happened to have a couple things that I could eliminate. I don't want to delete too much information because the information that's there came from documentation. I'm trying to recreate and find those documentation, and I know that the Ancestry member tree hints will give me those documents. So that is what I am doing. I wanted to show you what I mean by the about dates and how I resolved that, and the report that I created so that I can review every couple hundred profiles that I review, I will run that report to make sure that I caught them all. I've been doing it by alphabet, so when I do a letter of the alphabet, I will go and review that report. I just had a couple examples that I want to show you, but the last time I ran the report was the letter R, so I knew that everything up to the letter R had already been done, so I can scroll down that page, that report, that 24-page report, pretty quickly. And I save it so I can go back to it the next time. The number of people that I have reviewed will, there'll be more people that I have reviewed, so then I know who I've reviewed. So that's, hope that makes sense. Everybody's going to have no documentation on all of the profiles, and I am reviewing each profile and doing some cleanup. Hope that makes sense. If not, please leave a comment on the blog post that's linked to this video, and I'll respond. Thank you very much, and have a great day.